The Walt Disney Company changed the name of the game when it comes to Disney parks when they introduced Lightning Lane into the equation, replacing the former free Fast Pass system. But is it too complicated for the common guest? And is Disney actually mulling ways to make it less complex? And might that involve artificial intelligence? Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. Vash, this comes to us from Disney Tourist Blog by the one and only Tom Bricker, who says Disney mulls making Lightning Lane less complex. Disney guests who are the designated scroller tasked with managing Lightning Lane reservations aren't having as much fun as their families, according to a new piece in the Wall Street Journal. The article titled "Disney is the happiest place on earth unless you're the designated scroller" is premised on how one person in every party has to magically book and revise ride reservations on their phone in order to avoid endless lines. The author spoke with a handful of guests who aired their grievances about Lightning Lane Multipass. Frankly, most of it is uninteresting. If you've been in the fan community for the last few years, you've already encountered almost everything discussed there and a whole lot more. It's just a series of anecdotes and reads as if the author visited Disneyland for the 70th, discovered Lightning Lanes, and is reporting on this new to him thing as if it's new to everyone. But that's an interesting thing, Vash. The designated scroller. Is that a thing in Disneyland?
Well, so Disneyland and Walt Disney World are just a little bit different, only because Disneyland, there's far less buy-in because you have so many people going there constantly. So it's kind of like what we were just talking about with Walt Disney World, vibes not rides, but extrapolated out to the majority of the guests actually there. So there are a lot of incentives to get people to actually purchase Lightning Lane versus Walt Disney World. There are actually some impediments to that process. So that's kind of what is going on right there. And you can stack, as I think what is it, Ben Fritz mentioned in his article on the Wall Street Journal right there. There are things you can do in order to get the most out of those Lightning Lanes, but it's just a little bit different at Disneyland.
Right. So Bricker goes on to say, in fairness, Lightning Lane probably are new to the more mainstream audience of the Wall Street Journal. They're not immersed in this stuff, and any chance to repackage the tried and true Disney is too complicated or Disney is too expensive narratives are opportunities on which generalist publications will pounce. I agree with that. These articles resonate with that readership who can then look down their noses at people who visit theme parks as opposed to real places as chumps. Those infamous childless Disney adults are at it again. Mainstream media knows that it can be spoon-fed its oh so sophisticated audience what it wants to hear to make them feel better about their superior taste in spending. Confirmation bias is a hell of a drug, but I digress. This is Bricker talking, guys, not me. Buried in the anecdotes about anecdotes about a guest who was the Lightning Lane manager for the group of 19 family members. 19 people, that would not be good. Having a lot to juggle, was one worthwhile tidbit. Disney Experiences chair Thomas Maslam said about the complexity of Lightning Lane, "This is something we're looking at as we considered ways to simplify the guest experience." And that, Bash, is a new and potentially notable point worthy of discussion. Right. So he said, Bricker is acknowledging his own slightly cynical commentary about mainstream media reporting on Disney World and Disneyland. And it says it's not because they're wrong. They're not wrong. They're just condescending. I actually do agree with that. Walt Disney World and Disneyland absolutely have problems with complexity. We've covered this in countless posts, most notably the top 10 guest complaints about Walt Disney World. Until last year, we've been having negative feedback reader at historically high rates for the previous 5 years. Complaints remain common, but they are below all-time highs. It would seem that things are turning a corner. Nevertheless, the number 4 entry on last year's version of the biggest complaints list was too much screen time. Refreshing for better Lightning Lanes, mobile order for counter service restaurants, and walk-up wait list for the new table service availability, looking at wait times and show times, and so on and so forth. On top of that, the number 8 entry was death of spontaneity, and the number 1 was it didn't feel like a vacation. Those are both essentially variations on Walt Disney World being too complicated, feeling more like MCU style homework than a relaxing vacation due to all the screen time technology and everything you need to know or do over the course of the trip. Now, Vash, it used to be that Disney could be a complex thing for you if you were a planner, but if you were just somebody who was going with the flow, that was also something that you could do. You can't do that anymore.
You really can't. You really can't. And the complexity, I will say, exists on both coasts right there. But a lot of people have had a lot of frustrations. This is what they call a friction point for guests internally right there. And where Thomas Muslim, now chairman of the experiences unit. Then the president of Disneyland, when he actually had that media summit at DCA for its 25th anniversary out there, he noted on a number of things. And one of those things was certainly Lightning Lane, because I don't think that he's just hearing it from the guests. Actually, I remember reporting on some internal discussions that Disney was having a number of years ago, talking about their, food and beverage retail departments, saying that they were having frustrations with Lightning as well. Then I think it was known as Genie Plus at that time. The reason why is because when people are interacting with the app as much as they are in order to manage their Lightning Lanes,
right,
via whether it's Genie Plus or the Lightning Lane system, that takes them away from other opportunities that food, beverage, retail would like them to have, like, for example, mobile ordering, the shopping function, right? The app-based shopping function that they actually have right there. Right. I think it's checkout or whatever.
Mobile checkout, yeah. Which I do like. Mobile checkout, actually.
Right. And well, one of the reasons why they got rid of the program and only limited it to like the Wool of Disney, for example, is because of those friction points that they were having with guests who already had a Lightning Lane on their systems, right? Because people had opted in and invested into this program, they were less likely to opt in to other things. And by the way, Marvin, that possibly included sit-down dining as well. So I know they had their frustrations with it. Guests have their frustrations with it. Thomas Muslim has heard that, and now that he's the chairman of the experiences, I think he is willing to alter the system to a degree. But I mean, they get 50% opt-in when it comes to people enrolling onto the system. So there's not much incentive to do that necessarily for Walt Disney World, but I think for Disneyland, they are looking into that, and whatever developments actually occur on that end, they might be incentivized to do that, for the reasons I just said.
So he says, against that backdrop, my perception is that complaints have cooled because things have improved in the last couple of years. I do not agree. From my personal perspective, elements of the guest experience have gotten better and critically easier. I don't agree, but then again, I don't get free access to Disney World like some of these other people do. Lightning Lane Multipass replaced Genie Plus 2 years ago. Once the details were digested by fans and the initial confusion and concerns that accompany any major change were addressed, it has largely been smooth sailing. Lightning Lane Multipass is not simple, but it is simpler than its predecessor, and that I will agree on. Genie went from being a top issue to barely registering on the laundry list of fan complaints. To the extent that Lightning Lanes still come up, it's usually a matter of understandable fan frustration that free Fast Pass now costs money, and often a lot of money. By the way, if I may point out, and I point this out all the time, Bash, Lightning Lane was never Fast Pass was never free.
It was included with your ticket.
It was baked into the price of your ticket. So we've just made the ticket less valuable from a base perspective.
Exactly.
Yes. So during the media briefing we attended at the start of the summer from Walt Disney World product management, guest experience, and commercial strategy departments, discussed many of these topics. They offered us a sneak peek of the upcoming app changes and website changes to further simplify the guest experiences. Oh, good. Whenever they try to simplify the guest experience, they always make it so terrible and it crashes constantly. And it's always just an absolute slog. Walt Disney World shared with us that they've been seeing measurable improvements in guest satisfaction as a result of the changes they've already made. For example, combining today's plans and future plans into the cohesive My Plans flow on My Disney Experience improved ease of use by 8%, streamlining the ADR. Okay, more to the point, switching from Genie Plus to Lightning Lanes, coupled with the shift from day of booking to pre-arrival reservations, led to double-digit gains in both ease of use and overall experiences. Bravo. There was nothing we were shown during this presentation that suggested any meaningful overhaul of Lightning Lane was on the horizon. To the contrary, the implicit framing was that the switch to pre-arrival Lightning Lanes was the first piece of the puzzle that paved the way for other upcoming updates. Similar sentiment is also reflected in in another one of our posts. Okay. As shared there, I personally would not purchase Lightning Lane Multipass right now, and in fact, I have not, and I have never once spent a dime on Genie Plus or Lightning Lane Vash. Not one dime.
Really?
I refused. I cannot do it. I can't do it.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Can't say the same for myself.
Yeah. So he says, I have not in any of my park days in the last 2 months. This isn't because the system has become more difficult to use. To the contrary, I feel it's gotten easier across the board. Instead, it's because fewer guests are skipping the line and are instead in the regular line. Standby lines are moving more fluidly and wait times are lower, both because attendance is down and due to fewer guests in the Lightning Lanes being prioritized and pulled in front of standby lines. Even as lightning lanes are non-negotiable for many fans, they don't need to be. You can have the best guest experience in 5 years by simply opting out of lightning lanes completely. The big problem among fans is the FOMO factor. Makes it difficult to opt out of line skipping. And once you've purchased Lightning Lane Multipass, there's that compulsion to check the My Disney Experience app regularly, playing the refresh game. And of course, yeah, so he's right. So Vash, do you think that there's anything they can do to make this process more simple?
Well, I mean, with Ben Fritz's article, he was talking about how they, you had people who were constantly like refreshing their reservation periods and so forth. And I think after a dozen times, the guy got a closer time to his arrival point for Space Mountain, for example. We could probably optimize there, I would think. We could probably be a little bit more lenient with the reservation system, how it currently stands right there. But I think, frankly, I think there is an overhaul that needs to take place. I think the price point is just too low, and the opt-in far too high. Again, if everybody's special, no one is. So I think it would be better for both standby and actually people with a system if they were to orient themselves to a system maybe closer to Express at Universal. Now, they do have like the premium option, right? Yeah. But I would argue maybe a middle ground between the price point of Lightning Lane where it currently exists and that premium option right there. I would opt for something like that, because with so many people on the system, Marvin, it's just going to be a hassle no matter what, because you're going to have to be fighting for these Lightning Lanes with other people on that system. Oh
yeah, it's, you know, you're always competing against everyone else that's in Disney on the same day as you. That's one of my favorite things.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Will Lightning Lane eventually be made simpler? Does it need to be made simpler? You tell us in the comments below.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.